Hey, what's up everybody and welcome back to News Dose. And one of Xbox's first-party studios just dropped a tech demo running on the Xbox Series X that just looks visually stunning. I mean, what they showed was just absolutely incredible, and it really seems like developers are excited about what they showcased in this tech demo. In fact, I would go so far as to say that from what we're hearing and seeing, this is actually game-changing for these next generation consoles. And yes, this is for both the Xbox Series as well as the PlayStation 5, so definitely stay tuned for all that. Now also, is all of these studio acquisitions that's been taking place in recent years in the game industry actually a bad thing? Well, according to former PlayStation boss Shawn Layden, he does voice his concern over the consolidation that we've been seeing within the game industry, and we'll kind of go over all of that later in the video as well. To start today off though, we're actually going to take a look at a game that I've been keeping an eye on for quite a while, and that is Baldo the Guardian Owls. I mean, right away, as soon as you look at this game, it just draws you in with that Studio Ghibli art style. It's very unique and it just looks so beautiful in motion. But it goes beyond just its visuals, because this is also apparently a Zelda-like experience. This game is very clearly inspired by Zelda, so to have that combination of a Zelda-like game with that Studio Ghibli art style, I mean, if they pull this off, it could be a very special release. And well, IGN has been covering this game for the last month or so, and now, well, we actually got an official release date, and it's coming sooner than what you might have expected. In fact, it's coming out next month on August 27th. Yeah, I'm just going to go and say it right now. August is increasingly becoming very busy with all these interesting titles, whether you're interested in something like Psychonauts 2, there's 12 Minutes, you have Hades, there's Kena, Bridge of Spirits, and now you also have Baldo the Guardian Owls. But with that said, this is a very interesting game that's releasing next month, and the good news is that this will be available on pretty much all platforms. It will be available on the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, as well as PC. So regardless of what platform you have, you're going to be able to check this game out and enjoy it, hopefully. Hopefully it turns out to be as good as it looks. Let me know, though, in the comments below on if you're interested in Baldo the Guardian Owls. Moving on, here's something that I found to be really interesting, and that is Team Asobi's next game. Now, Team Asobi is the studio behind Astrobot Rescue's Mission as well as Astro's Playroom. Now, I've said over and over on this channel, I genuinely do believe that these games are among the best 3D platformers that I've ever personally played. They are absolutely fantastic, and if we just take a look at Astro's Playroom, this game comes included for free, completely free, with every PlayStation 5, and to this date, I actually still believe this is probably one of the best overall next generation experiences. And the reason I say that is because while there's a lot of games out there that maybe just focuses on visuals, they might focus on a solid state drive or this, that, and the other, something that Astro's Playroom does is it really takes advantage of the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. And because of that, it's just a very unique experience, and it really does feel like a next-generation experience just because of that controller alone. But it goes beyond just that, because there's just so much creativity, so much charm packed into this little title. I know it's free, but even if it wasn't free, I would have absolutely played this game. But there was a big bonus when it comes to this game being free, and that's just more people having the chance to try it out. Because this game is free, just a lot of people's gotten to check this game out, and they're realizing just how amazing Astro's Playroom really is. So I'm thrilled to see more people actually get a chance to realize just how talented the studio is, and PlayStation has definitely taken notice, because since the PlayStation 5 launched, Team Asobi ended up turning into their own studio, and we are starting to get a hint as to what their next game is. This is according to a Team Asobi job listing over on LinkedIn, which shows that they're looking for a game designer who will specialize in making a variety of levels for a 3D action game. Now, this job listing also notes that the applicant should have solid level design skills that guide the player well and provide great tempo, as well as bringing creativity and humor to the game. They're not quite saying that this is a 3D platformer per se, though I think it is a pretty safe assumption to believe that this is probably a continuation of the Astro franchise. And you know what? I think that is very exciting personally. Like I said before, I think both Astrobot as well as Astro's Playroom were just flat out amazing, and I would really like to see what a team like this could do with a real budget moving forward. We'll have to kind of wait and see what this game is exactly, but just based off of their past history, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see their next game possibly come over to the PlayStation VR 2. This is something that Team Asobi does like to do. They do take new technology and really try to showcase that. We saw that with PlayStation VR and Astrobot, and then we saw that with the DualSense controller and the PlayStation 5. So I could easily see them working on a PlayStation VR 2 game, though this is just clearly speculation by this point. All I know is that I am incredibly excited to see what Team Asobi does next with whatever this 3D action game is. Next up, let's talk about this alpha tech demo that the Coalition dropped running on the Xbox Series X. Now, the Coalition is the Gear studio, which is definitely one of the most talented studios within the game industry, and they really are experts when it comes to Unreal Engine. So them doing an Unreal Engine 5 demo is actually pretty perfect for Epic Games, and it can kind of showcase what these next generation consoles, especially the Xbox Series X, and what it's capable of. And just wow. The Coalition did show off 2 different demos here, both of which were incredibly impressive and just absolutely stunning. Yeah, just check this out. You have this alpha demo here, which shows off an ancient environment, and you can kind of see all the different lighting effects, the shadows, the textures, and everything just looks so stunning. And again, this is running on the Xbox Series X. This is not running on some super powerful PC. This is running on a $500 Xbox Series X, and it just looks so good. Now, with that said, you do have to keep in mind that this is a tech demo and it doesn't represent actual gameplay. Obviously, with a tech demo, they're really going to focus on specific assets and really just go all out, making it look as good as possible, because with a tech demo, you're really just trying to show what specific hardware combined with software is capable of. But this really is impressive, and both developers as well as fans seem to just be really, really excited about what they saw here. And they really should be, because from everything that I've heard from all these different developers, Unreal Engine 5 is going to be a game changer. Some of the technology that they showed here is just incredible, and this is going to be big for these next generation consoles. Last year we saw Unreal Engine 5 running on the PlayStation 5, and now you're seeing it on the Xbox Series X, and it really does look impressive with some of this different technology, such as nanite technology as well as Lumen. Developers really seem to be praising both of those quite a bit. Lumen, as an example, is kind of Unreal Engine's version of ray tracing, but it seems to be far less demanding, which could be very beneficial. I mean, obviously ray tracing looks absolutely excellent, but if Lumen does allow for realistic global illumination for video games without being as resource hungry, that could be really big for games moving forward, especially with these next generation consoles. We've already kind of seen it this generation, but developers right now are kind of making trade-offs when it comes to ray tracing versus performance. It's really hard to get 4K resolution with 60 frames per second and ray tracing, and that's kind of where maybe Lumen could really help out. Maybe we could see some better performance with Lumen and Unreal Engine 5. Now, we'll have to see how all this plays out in actual games, because again, this is just a tech demo, even though, yes, it is very impressive. Even then, though, I mean, they really kind of focused on just the graphical standpoint with this demo, but they still were able to get about 46 frames per second on average, so that's actually pretty good for as graphically as demanding as this demo was. Now, they did also show some character models in a separate demo where a character was actually featuring over 160,000 polygons with 31,000 polygons in the face alone. Yeah, it looks very realistic, and again, and I keep using this word, but it's just very impressive. Both developers and fans alike seem to be really excited about this, and again, I think that they should be. And for that matter, I think that this just once again shows you just how talented the Coalition is. I think if this demo really did anything for me in particular, is it gets me even more excited to see the next Gears of War game. I mean, can you imagine what Gears 6 will look like running Unreal Engine 5 on the Xbox Series X? I imagine it is going to look absolutely insane because, I mean, even if you look at Gears Hivebusters, it really is one of the best looking games to date. So Gears 6 is going to look insane, and it also sounds like the Coalition might be working on a new IP as well. And even though this tech demo doesn't represent any type of game or anything like that, it does get me excited to see what completely original game they can come up with. Regardless, let me know what you thought about this demo and whether or not you were impressed by what they had to show. Let me know in the comments below. Now, as for this next topic, this has been getting a little bit of buzz today as former PlayStation boss Shawn Layden in an interview had quite a bit to say about the game industry as a whole. And the one thing that he said that's really grabbing a lot of attention is that he believes consolidation is the enemy of diversity. In fact, let's just go and take a look as to exactly what he had to say. During that time, we have also seen more consolidation. Consolidation is the enemy of diversity in some ways. It takes a lot of playing pieces off the table as they grow into these larger conglomerates. And again, we end up with this problem with diversity. Music on a revenue basis is probably 1/5 of the game space, but their cultural impact is 100 times what gaming is. Right now, we are narrowing ourselves down into genres and sequels and certain types of games. Favorites like my own, like Parappa and VibRibbon, those things don't seem to get a chance to come out on stage. That's bad for the industry and for fans. Over time, that leads to a crumbling of the games industry if we just keep talking to the same people and telling the same stories in the same way. And that is quite the statement there, and even though I think if you read over this entire interview, he does make some good points, and he does kind of talk about how games are becoming more and more expensive over time, and I think I agree with what he's saying about all of that. But this right here is the statement that seems to be grabbing a lot of attention, and I just don't agree with it. Yes, there has been some consolidation over the last couple years. We've seen Xbox acquire a lot of studios. Tencent has been a big player in this game. PlayStation has acquired a couple studios as of recent. Nintendo has even joined in by acquiring their own studio. And then we have publishers like THQ Nordic, which seems to just gobble up all these mid-range studios or smaller studios. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of these acquisitions taking place, but I'm not so sure that it has just stomped diversity as he claims. I mean, I think it's actually very debatable that this is the most diverse we've seen gaming as a whole. I mean, I've been playing games since the early 90s, and I definitely don't remember a time where there's just this constant flow of new games, whether it be from a small studio. You have your mid-range games, you have your big AAA games, you really have a mix of everything. And I think if you just look at just July and in the August lineup of games, you can kind of see that. Over the last month, we've gotten your well-established franchises like Flight Simulator, you have Zelda Skyward Sword HD, and then you also have Monster Hunter Stories 2. Those are your well-established franchises, but then you also have a lot of these smaller games, such as Crystals, you have Omno, The Ascent. Next month, you have Psychonauts 2, you have 12 Minutes and Hades, and yeah, there's a lot of small games. We talked about Baldo earlier. There's a lot of these smaller titles. Kena Bridge of Spirits is another one that comes out for the PlayStation 5. You have a lot of these smaller studios working on great and fantastic looking games as well. So when I hear a statement about how consolidation stomps on diversity, well, I need some proof because I'm seeing the exact opposite as of this moment. Now, like I said before, he made some other great points, especially when it comes to the rising cost of games, and that could hurt independent studios. If independent studios have to spend more money, that could hurt them in the long run. But I think a big part of that is not necessarily because of, again, this consolidation. But I think a lot of this actually stems from there's just more competition in the game industry than we've seen in the past. There's just so many games that are releasing anymore that it's hard to be recognized. You have to really make your games look good now, whereas, 10, 15 years ago, there wasn't as much competition, so I think you need to consider that as well. I just don't think that you can blame Consolidation alone. I think that there's more to it, though I do understand that when you acquire a studio, there's going to be that concern that these publishers are just going to push sequel after sequel from this point forward. And well, from that perspective, he might have a point. But at the same time, we don't really know what these studios are working on. In Xbox's case, all of these acquired studios are saying that they have creative control and that Xbox is taking a hands-off approach. So it sounds like they still do have creative freedom, and we could end up seeing a lot of new IPs from these studios. We just don't know. So I just think while this statement is interesting, I don't necessarily agree with everything that he says. Again, if you read through the entire interview, there's a lot of interesting things that he does say, and I agree with some of it, but this particular statement that a lot of people are kind of focusing on, not so much. Let me know what you think about all this, though. You might completely disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. I welcome your all's opinion, so let me know in the comments below on what you think about what Shawn Layden had to say. Now, we do have one last topic to go over, and I'll try to keep this one brief considering this video is getting a little bit longer by this point, but Mortal Kombat 11 has went on to sell 12 million units worldwide, this is great for a fighting game overall. I mean, I kind of hear it from gaming fans sometimes, but yes, some fans do believe that the fighting game genre is dying a little bit, but when you look at these numbers by Mortal Kombat 11, it kind of proves that wrong. Now, interestingly enough, Daniel Ahmad over on Twitter also pointed out that the Mortal Kombat franchise is now the best-selling fighting game franchise of all time. And that might surprise a few people because, yes, it did surpass the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. Super Smash Bros. Obviously is insanely popular, and the newest one has sold over 20 million copies worldwide. So to see Mortal Kombat pass Super Smash Bros., that's actually very impressive by NetherRealm Studios. And this is kind of one of the reasons that, yeah, I don't think Warner Brothers or Discovery is going to sell off the NetherRealm Studios as some people assume that they will. This is a big franchise. They're more than likely going to keep it as long as they can. Regardless, though, I am really happy to see Mortal Kombat just be so successful here. I grew up really liking this franchise a lot, and even though it's not necessarily my favorite fighting game franchise ever, I do prefer Killer Instinct over this. I am really happy to see Mortal Kombat and NetherRealm Studios have so much success here with Mortal Kombat 11. Let's take a look at the poll of the day, though, and I was just kind of sitting there last night, and I was thinking, the next 30 days of Xbox Game Pass, it looks absolutely outstanding. There's just so many games releasing, especially day one games releasing the Xbox Game Pass. It's going to be a fun time for Xbox Game Pass subscribers over the next 30 days. But I wanted to know, what game in particular are you all most excited for? And this actually turned out to be a very close poll. Now, you all did make me very happy here with Psychonauts 2 claiming that #1 spot with 35%, and then The Ascent, which was a very close number 2 at 31%. Now, a lot of you all also seem to be very excited about Hades, and why not? This game has already proven to be an excellent game, with it winning just Game of the Year award after Game of the Year award. It did release last year on PC and the Nintendo Switch, but now it will be coming to Xbox Game Pass next month, day one. Definitely go check that game out. A lot of you all also talked about 12 Minutes and then Flight Simulator and Omno. Flight Simulator did come out today. That's the only reason it wasn't on this list, but Omno and 12 Minutes obviously look really good as well. But you all did make me very, very happy by voting for Psychonauts 2. I was a little disappointed last week when I asked you all if you all played the first Psychonauts, and most of you all said you hadn't, but it looks like a lot more of you all will check out Psychonauts 2, and, thankfully, because the game looks superb in every way. I mean, just based off of what I've seen and heard about this game, this game could be yet another instant classic. I know for myself, Psychonauts 2 is not only one of my most anticipated games for next month, but it's actually one of my most anticipated games for the entirety of 2021. I cannot wait to play that game. Either way, there's definitely a lot of games to look forward to over the next month. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.